Star Wars is pro-Jedi propaganda, and I will show you what I mean by that in this video. This video is a follow-up to a previous video I did called The Jedi Philosophy is an Absolute Mess, in which we went through the fact that the Jedi were some kind of radical cult of reason that sought to deny the human side of a person and embrace the rational side of them by destroying all familial ties, all any kind of bonds of friendship, or anything that makes us human and social. And so the Jedi are effectively a sect of radical austere monks who are imposing a religious, which means a moral worldview, on an entire galaxy in the Republic by not allowing the Sith any kind of, place to exist of their own, which they should, if they wanted a plurality and diversity of opinion. And they cared at all about religious tolerance, which is a man's ability to determine his own conscience and believe the things that he believes to be true. The Jedi persecuted the Sith initially because they were Jedi who wanted to explore the dark side of the Force, and the very terms light and dark side are obviously morally loaded. So you have got a group of people who want only to study the rational side of the Force and do not want to study the emotional side of the Force. But a human being is made up of both parts. They are both rational and emotional. And so they are fundamentally denying an aspect of human nature. And so any tales that they might tell that are favourable to themselves and their cause, I am naturally suspicious of. And I think that if we do want to be fair, I really do think this, everyone is entitled to a reasonable and fair accounting of themselves and their actions and their intentions. And I think that's something we don't see in Star Wars. And so I think it's worth giving the Empire a fair hearing. At least, I mean, and I'm not saying that this is a categoric defense of the Empire or anything like that. The Empire has done things wrong. Palpatine has done things wrong. The dark side has done things wrong, and we'll call it the dark side just because it is standard terminology. In fact, no, I think I'll just call it the emotional side of the Force has done things wrong, but so has the rational side of the Force. And you can see that as you go through this. So I imagine that Star Wars is told in, like, the idea of Star Wars is in, like, it's like a Homeric myth, right? Or at least the original series was. And the prequels are meant to add on to that, and then no one cares about what the millennials have done to Star Wars now. But the original series and the prequels are meant to be like a Homeric myth, to tell you the rise and fall from grace of a great hero, and what the emotional and moral weight of that is, the lessons that a person can learn from that. And so it's no surprise to me that the heroes are very good looking and young, and, they're funny and handsome, and we like them, very likable. And the heroes look like, the heroes like that, and the villains look like this. They're ugly and scary and intimidating. I mean, this is just storytelling fluff. This is what you would expect. So we're not going to be making too many judgments like that, for the sort of textural judgments like that. I don't think that's entirely fair, and I think that's what you would expect from a work of propaganda. So we're going to try and strip them away. So it appears that initially the Galactic Republic is something akin to the Republic of Iran. It seems to be the Jedi Galactic Republic, in the same way it's the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? The Jedi Republic of the Galaxy. It appears they don't have religious freedom. And so you have here Sheev Palpatine, a senator, an elected senator as I understand it, who is himself living under a form of tyranny. Because the Jedi mullahs of the Galactic Republic spend their time hunting down and eliminating the Sith. So they are genociding a sect of wrong thinkers for being wrong thinkers, for falling outside of the orthodoxy. And how they learn that Palpatine is a Sith is quite interesting. Because, I mean, now, in like, say, the American Republic, Palpatine's rights for religious freedom would be guaranteed by their constitution. He would be guaranteed to not be persecuted by other religious bodies with government, in the government particularly, for what he believes. But that's exactly what the Jedi are doing. It's a theocracy that they're operating. And we can see this in the way that they end up trying to arrest Palpatine. Anakin Skywalker is, at the time when he discovers that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, He is a Jedi zealot, but he is having real world problems. His wife, he's having these prophetic dreams that his wife's going to die because the Force is magic. They believe it, but it's fine. They believe that this is the case. Fine. And so he wants to find a way to save her because he loves his wife. He doesn't want his child to die. Totally normal goals. Totally noble goals. You can't take this away. But this puts him in conflict with his Jedi beliefs. And so he ends up being, I guess, kind of groomed by Palpatine. So, no, this guy might actually break away from the Jedi, which is obviously good if you're not a Jedi. And so Palpatine is trying to persuade him that, look, it's not all good on one side and it's not all bad on the other. And they were his exact words. I mean, he says how he has been taught both sides of the Force. Specifically, he has not been taught only the dark side and say the light side is evil. He's not saying that at all. And this is from the pro-Jedi propaganda. He even uses the phrase. He says, like, directly, I've learned both sides of the Force beyond the narrow, dogmatic view of the Jedi. And man, never a truer word spoken. The view of the Jedi is narrow and dogmatic. It really is. And it's horrific. They will execute people for having the wrong religious beliefs. And what Palpatine is saying is there is value on both sides of this. So Palpatine is the centrist in this regard, and the Jedi are quite like radical left-wingers who refuse that there are any concerns on the other side of the aisle, when in fact it's obvious to anyone who's not invested in one side or another that both sides have a legitimate concern on any particular issue. And so Anakin learns about this. He goes and then tells Mace Windu, who's, again, another high-ranking religious zealot. And Windu's like, right, okay, we're just going to have to go and arrest him then. And that's what they do. It's like, okay, well, hang on a second. On what authority and for what crime? Like, the only crime is that he believes something that the Jedi have prescribed. And where do the Jedi get their authority to go and arrest a sitting senator for wrongthink? Where do they get this authority? As far as I can tell, they are just a bunch of space mullahs who impose their religious views, their moral views, and their moral monopoly on the galaxy through force, which is what he's doing here. He turns up with like 5 Jedi. He's like, right, now I'm coming to arrest you. Why? And he says, on the in the name of the Senate. It's like, who fucking voted for you? He is an elected senator. Like, he might have run on this. You don't know, But the Jedi are unelected religious zealots who impose their religion with force, kidnapping children and brainwashing Force-sensitive children and brainwashing into the religion, and then persecuting anyone who resists this, who says, well, hang on, maybe the Jedi are wrong on this issue, which they are. And so Palpatine is like, well, it's treason then. And so the question being answered is, where does sovereignty lie in the Republic? And the Jedi think that sovereignty lies in the unelected religious order that rules over the Republic. But the Senate's position, Palpatine's position, is that no, sovereignty resides with the people. Like, and that's that direct implication of what Palpatine's saying. The sovereignty relies with the representatives who have been elected. Now, this is not to say that Palpatine does not then go on to become the Emperor, but in his defense, he is elected to become the Emperor because it appears that there is some kind of problem with the Jedi Order and that they are committing acts of terrorism against elected representatives, which they did, which is why he ends up being hideously deformed. This was a direct consequence of Mace Windu attacking him for his religious beliefs. Again, I just can't stress how inappropriate I find that to be. But that, again, does not say that Palpatine has done nothing wrong. Palpatine is involved in a plot to make it look like the Jedi are attacking, and in some ways they are, but he's involved in a plot to overthrow the Jedi. That's what he wants, ultimately. He wants to get rid of the Jedi because he views them as an oppressive force that are, well, holding down people's true beliefs. And he is. That's something that's happening. And so but the question really is it justified to overthrow a religious regime? If they are imposing a religion on people, it is something that other people do you have a right to revolution? against this kind of order. And I'm sorry, but I think you actually might. I think that the Christians in Iran, if there are any left at all, but if there were Christians in Iran or Jews in Iran, then they would have the right, the moral right, to revolt against the mullahs of Iran who are seeking to eradicate them and suppress them at every turn. I think, yeah, they do have a right to revolt there. So, I mean, you can say, well, Palpatine engaged in this conspiracy, sure, but he did live under a sword of Damocles, of which, you know, if his beliefs were discovered, the Jedi would kill him just because he believed the wrong thing. And I'm not sure you get to choose necessarily your own beliefs. You know, you believe what you believe, and it's because it appears to be true. And honestly, Palpatine's beliefs are a lot more accurate to a representative of reality than the Jedi's. So is it any wonder that he would resort to these kinds of means in order to try and overthrow this tyranny? So really, I'm not even sure that you can say that what Palpatine's done with this conspiracy is the worst thing that could be done. I actually think it's probably justified in the face of what the oppression that we're seeing. And these people are oppressing a lot of people. You know, they've got a whole galaxy that they're ruling over, you know, apparently. You know, they're imposing their order on. And so it's not like any of this is really down to material deprivation. Like the Empire don't seem to change the running of the galaxy all that much. Like the galaxy still is amazing. It's got incredible cities. There's no material deprivation, at least in the core planets of it. I'm sure, like, you know, the outer planets, yeah, sure, there are going to be poverty there, but then what do you expect? It's just, you know, a more realistic way of viewing things. But like I said, I don't want this to be a categoric defense of the Sith, as if to say they've done nothing wrong. They have. The Empire has done something wrong. But when you do have a galaxy-spanning empire, well, you're going to get that. I mean, the Republic did things wrong too. Any amount of large-scale exercise of power is going to end up causing and doing things that are not good for people, at least some people. It's just the nature of power. But I mean, like, you know, military occupation. Apparently they occupied some planets that weren't even revolting. Okay, fine, that's bad. You know, that's not a good thing. Massacring rebels, well, I mean, the rebels would massacre them back in return, wouldn't they? So I'm not sure we can say that massacring the other side in a civil war has got any particular moral significance, because both sides would do it. Killing their own soldiers and officers, well, assuming they do kill their own soldiers and officers, because remember, all we know about the Empire really comes from pro-Jedi propaganda reels. So if we were to watch a bunch of Nazi propaganda from World War II, we would be convinced that the British would be the worst people on Earth, or, you know, etc., etc. But even then, you know, I suppose that makes them as bad as the Soviet Union. Raising planets for their resources, yeah, okay, but the alternative is, I mean, the example they give here is how they stripped this planet full of kyber crystals that were used to power the Death Star's laser. Okay, well, what was the problem there? Well, the problem was that the Jedi wanted those crystals for their lightsabers. Well, boo-hoo. Two religious lords, we both would desire the same resource. Okay, well, one got it and the other didn't get it. If the other got it, they would have denied it to the other as well. It's not like we're going to share it or something. So, okay, fine. I don't know what Operation Cinder is. Kidnapping and eliminating Force-sensitive children, yeah, that's what the Jedi did as well. So it's not any moral significance there. If the goodies are doing it, then it must be fine. Sterilizing Geonosis, I don't know what the Geonosans are, so I mean, they could have actually had a reason for that. They might have been like the aliens or something. Slavery, well, slavery happened under the Republic. You know, Luke was a slave, wasn't he? You know, this happened, wasn't Anakin a slave as well? You know, in fact, Anakin was a slave. So it did happen under the Republic. So, okay, that's not something novel to the Empire. And the destruction of Jeddah and Scarif, I don't know anything about those. But blowing up Alderaan is the important one, because, like, well, they blew up an entire planet. It's like, yeah, a rebel planet. What I'm saying is, there is a one-sided narrative about the Empire that is being told because we are watching this from pro-Jedi sources. But an alternative narrative to the Empire could be more moderate and less of a condemnation of the Empire. The Empire obviously must have achieved good things. There must have been a reason that people wanted to join it. I mean, you know, you can't say that it didn't, you know, provide stability and jobs and all of these other material gains that people also like. So the dark side of the Force, what we're calling the dark side, but really could be called the emotional side or the human side of the Force, compared to the rational side of the Force, is not purely evil, and the rational side is not purely good. They are both morally muddied in a way. They're not They're not pure. And so if you're going to create a pure narrative about one side, you could at least create a fair narrative about the other. And you can see this in the way, again, all of the propaganda. Oh yeah, I'm sure that whoever's telling the story, look, the First Order and the Empire, look, they're definitely evil. Look at them. Well, yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you? You would portray these people to be evil. Obviously, why wouldn't you? I mean, and it goes right down to the very naming conventions that we're told about the Sith. Because remember, we don't actually know anything about the Empire, the Sith, or anything like that. We just know what the Jedi have told us. And so I have to really say, the naming conventions that the Jedi are telling us the Sith use, I find quite hilarious. I mean, if I was going to try and create an order of villains, and obviously this is, getting outside of this narrative, this is obviously, George Lucas doing this for, impact and effect. But that just makes George Lucas a Jedi propagandist. So, I mean, look, Darth Ramage, Darth Tenebrous, Darth Plagueis, Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Darth Tyrannus. Come on, these are such ridiculous, caricatures. Like Darth Rampage, Darth Plague, Darth Insidious, Darth Invader, Darth Tyrant. Yeah, okay, I get who you think the baddies are here, but I mean, what did they do? Well, Darth Plagueis was called the Wise, and he learned how to cure death or keep people alive using magic force powers. And it's like, okay, well, that's not evil, is it? Saving people's lives, is that evil now? Darth Plagueis would be, you clap for me now if there's but he's got a scary name, Plagueis. Ooh, he sounds scary. But I don't think that's fair. I think that there is a moral justification under what Palpatine has done, and I think that the Empire actually represent a kind of moral order that is not just as evil as the Jedi would have us believe. In fact, there appears to be quite a lot in the way of positives. All of these people have meaning in their lives. They're doing something that they think is a good. They are doing something that can be considered to have a positive moral implication when it's finished. Not to say they've done nothing wrong, they have done things wrong, but so have the Empire. No one is looking for moral purity here. The question is, do the Jedi have a more realistic view of the world, or do the Sith? And in this case, I have to say, I think actually the Sith actually have a better point. I don't think that the Jedi should be able to tyrannize an entire galaxy for their own religious purposes. And this was all inspired by a comment that was left on this video, because I'd said in the video that Star Wars is pro-Jedi propaganda, and it was just a throwaway line. And people were asking me for t-shirts with that on, so I thought, okay, fine. I can do that, actually, for a temporary amount of time, actually, because, Teespring are very funny about copyright infringement. They're very concerned about it. Even though you're doing something for parody and satire, they still get quite nervous about it. So the fact that I could get this t-shirt up with the Star Wars font and it's still there. We did one with the hollow lettering, where it's yellow and black hollow lettering, but they took that down. So we've been left with this, and this one apparently passes the test, whatever test they have. So if you would like to proudly declare that Star Wars is, as I think I've proven, pro-Jedi propaganda. And by the way, as well, one thing I forgot to say, notice how you never get any humanizing scenes of the villains in any of the Star Wars movies. And I'm not talking about any of the extra canonical stuff, because I don't care. I'm talking from the film universe, obviously. Compare that to Avatar. You get a lot of information humanizing the other side, the Fire Nation in Avatar. They're not portrayed as just monsters. It is, in fact, Fire Lord Ozai and Azula who are the monsters. The people who are controlling it are the monsters, not the culture itself. But you don't get that with the Star Wars universe. You don't get the humanization of the enemy, at least not in any great part, not until the very end where Vader's dying. But there is, the attempts to humanize Anakin Skywalker just makes him look like a psychotic villain. When he's like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Well, from a point of view that isn't 100% pro-Jedi, the Jedi are evil. They are doing evil things. So, you know, like, how radical is Anakin Skywalker really? But in the Jedi propaganda version, oh, he's crazy, he looks like a Zula. But he's not becoming like a Zula. He's not becoming like some tyrant. Well, I mean, he went a bit mental. But again, can we really trust it? No, we can't, because Star Wars is pro-Jedi propaganda. If you want to go to your next Star Wars convention with that, then the link will be in the description.